Riddles and mysteries have always fascinated people, especially when they are hidden within ice, preserving secrets of the past frozen for millennia. Stories of frozen mummies belonging to ancient civilizations are familiar to us from movies, but what if such discoveries actually exist? I'm TopFacts Black, and today I'll tell you about incredible finds in the ice that are hard to believe. Enjoy watching, and of course, let's get started. The first artifact that was discovered is the head of a mummy princess found in the eternal permafrost in the 12th century. It was a real shock for archaeologists because no one expected to find such a valuable artifact in such a well-preserved state. The mummy's head became a unique discovery that allowed the study of the history of ancient civilizations. The mummy's head shows that women in those times played an important role in society and held high social status. The second discovery was the remains of a young foal found in Zrenba. This place is located in Siberia and is home to a rare species of horses, Equus linensis. The found foal remains were incredibly well preserved because they were frozen in the ice for over 40,000 years. This discovery provided scientists with valuable information about the life and behavior of ancient horses that lived in Siberia during the Ice Age. Studying these remains allowed scientists to better understand how these horses survived in harsh climatic conditions and how they influenced the lives of ancient people who used horses for various purposes, including hunting and transportation. The forest rangers, who care for the natural wealth in the Himalayan mountains, discovered a small cave filled with piles of human bones. In this area, inhabited by various tribes, these bones could be associated with religious rituals, cult practices, or military conflicts. Scientists who studied the remains suggest that they belong to a period when the inhabitants of these mountains had to fight for survival in conditions where natural resources were very limited. What do you think? How old are these bones? Share your opinion in the comments, and let's move on. Recently, scientists found a frozen cave lion that had been lying on the ice for over 28,000 years. This was a remarkable discovery because such finds are rare. This lion is in excellent condition and has all its organs intact, giving scientists a unique opportunity to study them and gather new data about the lives of cave lions. It is likely that the cub was crushed by an avalanche, which is why its body is so well preserved. Scientists are conducting numerous tests and analyses to study this frozen cave lion and gain additional insights into how it lived and what it ate. This discovery will help us better understand how animals adapted to the conditions of the Ice Age and how they could survive in such extreme circumstances. Frozen remains of a mammoth discovered on Likov Island. This island is located in the Arctic Ocean and was once connected to Asia by an ice bridge. During an expedition in 2010, several parts of a frozen mammoth body were found, which had been preserved in the ice for over 20,000 years. They were well preserved thanks to the icy shell that protected the body from decomposition. Scientists conducted extensive work to extract the remains from the ice and send them for analysis. Surprisingly, some of the mammoth's organs, including the brain, were found inside the discovered remains. The carcass of an Ice Age bird found near the village of Beryar in 2018. This event occurred quite recently and has already caused a lot of excitement in the scientific community. The carcass was found in excellent preservation due to its burial in the ice. One of the remarkable features of this discovery was that the bird was found in its natural environment. This allowed scientists to study the environment and determine the conditions typical of that period. The bird's carcass was examined using modern scientific methods, including genetic analysis, which revealed that it was a new and previously unknown species of bird. An alligator is a large reptile that inhabits the southern states of the United States, particularly in North Carolina. Typically, alligators are found in water and feed on fish and small animals. However, this time the animal was found frozen in ice. This was so unusual that it caught the attention of local residents and became the focus of media interest. Alligators usually cannot tolerate cold and lose their ability to move when the water temperature drops below 20 degrees Celsius. Therefore, the fact that an alligator froze on the beach in the summer is something incredible and unbelievable. Ice sculptures on the coastline of Alaska are unique formations created naturally. They formed due to the accumulation of ice, minerals, and salts over many years. as well as the influence of temperature, wind, and other factors. They come in various shapes and sizes. Some of them resemble people or animals, while others are abstract sculptures. Moreover, some of these sculptures have such finely crafted details that it is truly incredible. When scientists began to study these ice sculptures, they discovered traces of animals and vegetation on them, indicating that these sculptures were created thousands of years ago when the area was in the grip of the Ice Age. It is important to note that the Ice Age ended around 10,000 years ago, so these ice sculptures are indeed unique relics of ancient times. Scientists have discovered a plant in Antarctica that has the ability to come back to life after millennia of freezing. It is called the zombie plant because it literally resurrects from the dead. Scientists found it several meters below the ice surface and were able to extract it and give it the opportunity to revive once again. As it turns out, this plant was frozen over 30,000 years ago. To their surprise, scientists found that it was still alive and could recover after thawing. How is this possible, you may ask? In fact, it is related to the fact that the plant contains special substances that protect its cells from destruction at low temperatures. These substances also help it restore its functions after thawing. Norwegian archaeologists discovered ancient skis in a glacier that had been frozen there for over 1,300 years. They were in excellent condition, as if they had been used just yesterday. Archaeologists learned that these skis were used during the Viking period and are among the oldest ever found in Norway. But how did these skis manage to survive for over 1,300 years? The answer to this question is related to the fact that they were well protected from external influences while in the glacier. Also, the layer of ice on them helped preserve their shape and prevent material decay. Despite their ancient age, they were in excellent condition and appeared quite suitable for use. This allowed archaeologists to conduct an experiment and try using these skis in a real skiing competition to understand how ski manufacturing technology has changed over the centuries. Imagine you are on an Antarctic expedition, far from civilization, and suddenly you find a frozen notebook that has been here for over 100 years. Captain Robert Scott led this expedition in the early last century, and the notebook was found only a few years ago. But this is not just a notebook. It is a real treasure that has helped us better understand the lives and hardships of people who lived and worked in such harsh conditions. The notebook contains records of Robert Scott and his team during the expedition, as well as drawings and photographs of what they saw. They describe severe cold, bad weather, hunger and fatigue, but also the joy of what they were able to achieve. This find is a true time capsule that helps us learn more about the history of our world. In Siberia, researchers found the remains of a puppy that was only a few months old at the time of its death. However, this was not just any animal. This was a puppy that lived on Earth over 18,000 years ago, during the last ice age. It was frozen in mud covered with snow and ice. At first, it was thought to be just old bones, but upon closer inspection, it was discovered to be the remains of a small puppy. How did it end up in this mud? And why have its remains been preserved in such good condition for so many years? These questions remain a mystery, but we know that this discovery has changed our understanding of life in ancient times. In the distant year 1914, when the famous English explorer Ernest Shackleton embarked on his third expedition to Antarctica aboard the ship Endurance, something terrible happened. The journey ended in disaster when the ship became trapped in the ice and was destroyed in 1915. Shackleton and his crew were forced to fight for survival in extremely harsh conditions. They survived for 105 days on the ice before leaving their shelter and embarking on a perilous journey to safety. More than 100 years later, in 2021, a team of scientific researchers discovered the remains of the Endurance on the seabed. They found the wrecked ship and a series of items left behind by Shackleton's team that had remained preserved on the seabed, protected from the destructive influence of time. Another remarkable discovery was made by stoker John Torrington, who worked on a trading ship in 1920 that traversed the South Pole. During the expedition, he discovered that the snow beneath his feet was emitting a bright blue light. He was fascinated by this phenomenon and decided to investigate it. After several weeks of research, Torrington and his team determined that the glowing snow was caused by the presence of a large quantity of Antarctic ice crystals containing light-reflecting particles. New materials were developed based on Antarctic ice crystals and are now used in aviation, medicine, and other fields. So, human limbs, or rather their traces, have been found. It's time to discover something related to animals. For example, there's the story of the Mount Owen claw discovery. It was a giant dinosaur-like claw still covered with flesh and scaly skin. The claw was so well preserved that it seemed to belong to a recently deceased animal, leading the archaeological team to extract the claw and immediately take it for analysis. The result was astounding. The mysterious claw turned out to be ancient remains of a giant moa, a large prehistoric bird that went extinct several centuries ago. Divers discovered clothing in the melting glaciers of Switzerland, which are currently under threat due to climate change. The clothing belonged to the Horgan culture, which lived in the territory of modern-day Switzerland and Liechtenstein more than 5,000 years ago. The Horgan culture is considered one of the most enigmatic and least studied ancient cultures of Europe, and the discovery of this clothing has become a valuable source of information for researching its traditions, customs, and life in the past. The clothing was in incredibly good condition because it had been encased in glaciers for many years, preserving many details and elements of the original design and construction. Yucca the mammoth was found in Siberia in 2010 by a group of local hunters who discovered his body in the Yakutia tundra. Scientists believe that Yucca was killed around 39,000 years ago when he was only 20 years old. His body was frozen in the ice for many thousands of years, which allowed it to be remarkably well preserved. Thanks to this, scientists were able to obtain unique information about this ancient mammoth. For example, scientists were able to study Yucca's brain cortex, which gave them insight into how the brains of these animals functioned and how they perceived the world around them. Additionally, scientists also analyzed the composition of Yucca's tissues and bones, providing them with a better understanding of the substances and elements necessary for the survival of mammoths. In 2018, a group of researchers discovered frozen bears and their cubs in Yakutia, northeastern Russia. The find was truly astonishing, as the bears turned out to be frozen for over 40,000 years. One of the frozen bears was a female, and the other was her cub. Scientists were able to study their morphology, anatomy, and genetic material. They also determined that these were ancient bears that went extinct around 15,000 years ago. The bears were so well preserved that scientists could even see their whiskers and claws. A frozen mammoth tusk was found in 2014 in Yakutia, Siberia. This discovery was remarkably well preserved, allowing scientists to study its structure and chemical composition. The tusk had been frozen in ice for about 10,000 years. Researchers found that the mammoth tusk was a vital tool for these animals, as they used it for protection against predators and in competition with others. Mammoth tusks were also used for foraging and various ritual purposes. The next astonishing discovery took place in South Africa. Australian archaeologists found the frozen skull of a distant human ancestor, estimated to be approximately 2 million years old. According to experts, these individuals had small brains and large teeth. The fossilized hominid skull was nearly complete. What do you think such a discovery could help with, if at all? That's all for now. These were the most shocking discoveries that no one can explain to this day. If you enjoyed the episode and would like to see more like it, please leave comments like, subscribe to the TopFacts Black channel, and right now, check out one of the previous episodes that appeared on your screen.